Welcome to Bodhi Television. Today we are in with a very special guest whose name is slightly difficult to pronounce. But Khyentse Rinpoche, I'm very privileged to be having conversation with you, and I'm not sure I can live up to this. But my first question to you is about your name. I mean, you go by a very long name. Is it is it difficult to bear the burden of so many different names?
Well, first, thank you for inviting me here. I have probably close to 50 names that are given by my gurus at different times for different purpose, so on and so forth. There is a sort of explanation, and it's actually quite profound, which I think we are also losing this sort of nuances or values. Names are the only thing that we have, human beings. The moment we think of something, we are thinking of a name. And the Eastern philosophers, especially Buddhism, have always known that name is arbitrary. Name is just an illusion. It is a label. But yet, it really is a driving force. So, if you are looking at so-called Hinduism, you will read texts such as, texts where it mentions Shiva has 1,000 names. And in Buddhism, for instance, like in Nepal, there's a sutra called Manjushri Namasangiti, which is very much recited in Nepal. I was told, I've actually observed. That's basically names of Manjushri. Each and every name has its special meaning, and not just a meaning as a symbol or some sort of a poetic kind of representation, but each and every one has its own path that is supposed to liberate you from a certain, entanglement, so on and so forth. Now, yes, in the so-called modern day, and I was just saying earlier that I was watching on YouTube recently, and it was a conference, something to do with the economy. And
you watched those videos?
Yes, yes. And there was all these Africans, and there were all these Chinese from Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, China. And I was really impressed with those African attendees, because they all have this incredibly beautiful sounding, but really difficult to pronounce names. And they're very, very proud. Most of the Chinese attendants, they are called David, Julie. They adopt a Western name, shying away from their own name. This is how we lose our own so-called identity. Of course, identity as a Buddhist is an illusion, but it is still a powerful illusion.
It's very fascinating to listen to you, because I, as a student of literature, we do have to read a lot of Western philosophy, where philosophers like Jacques Derrida, they talk about signifier and the signified, Does a name embody what it is trying to signify? Or is there an elemental difference between what is being signified and the word, right? So, I mean, the question that I'm trying to get onto is, these days in spirituality, there's so much confusion between the signifier and the signified, because there is so much hue and cry about enlightenment. Now we have forgotten, or we have not really experienced what actual enlightenment is, but we have hung over with the name. So I find myself very skeptical, because I've only experienced names and not the experience it is supposed to signify. So it makes me very bereft of trust or faith.
Yeah, I totally understand. And I think there's a lot of cause and conditions for this. And pardon me, I need to sort of be a little bit long-winded about this.
By all means.
For instance, okay, there are people who say Buddhism is not a religion.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually go further.
Mm-hmm.
Buddhism is not even a spiritual system.
Mm-hmm.
Buddhists don't even believe in spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How can it be a spiritual tradition or a path? Just imagine, let's say you are a computer scientist or a physicist, let's say. Just imagine, 100 years from now on, you and your, path, the physics, let's say, is categorized as cult, religion. How would you feel it now? This is how it is with Buddhism. If you rewind 2,000 years, the so-called Buddhist nowadays, they used to be those, what we now call scientists, who are looking for the stars and moons and the biology and, making of so-called a reality, life, truth. Those guys were just that. The sadhus, the pandits, the sannyasins, they were funded by kings, the emperors, the queens. They were revered, just as how we are revering nowadays the MIT, I don't know, scientists, whatever. That's how they were considered. Basically, okay, maybe the closest thing I would come up with is the scientists trying to find the truth. Now, then what happened? I think there are several causes and conditions. Okay, I will only speak about Buddhism mainly, since that's what I am supposed to be.
Is there a thing like you're supposed to be? Aren't you liberated from these?
But I will get back to you about this later. Buddhism have never shy away from skillful means. Let's say, again, going back to you are a scientist, you are a physicist, let's say, and you have a baby. Let's say he's a toddler, and he's about to fall from a cliff. Are you going to talk about gravity?
Oh, hopefully not.
Right.
Yeah.
You are going to maybe show up teddy bear
Yeah.
and try to distract. Lots of, I would say 99.99 Buddhist path is like this teddy bear. Trying to distract. Because in Buddhism we talk about compassion. By the way, even this word compassion, I really did, English word compassion is not doing the justice at all. The word like karuna or a Tibetan word nyingje. But anyway, so what I'm saying is Buddhism has, for centuries, have never been shying away from skillful means. Now, as always, people get always attracted to the finger rather than the moon. This happens a lot.
Yes.
Because it's the most tangible anyway.
Yeah.
It's the most photographable. For instance, if you go to a Zen temple, you see these Zen gardens.
Yes.
You can take photo.
Yeah.
How do you take photo of prajna?
Yeah.
How do you take photo of wisdom?
Yeah.
Those people don't care. Or people, it's too tough, right? So that's one of the cause and condition that somehow later became the reason why Buddhism got bundled into this superstition, religion, whatever.
A lot of photographable things.
Yes, that's one. But a more pressing one, I would say, is after the Second World War, or I don't know, maybe even before that, when so-called modernization, which is basically a westernization,
Yes.
it's not really a globalization or a modernization. It's basically a westernization.
Yeah.
So even now, you and I, you are a Himalayan person and me a Himalayan person, we are using the word English.
Exactly.
Every word, language, like you were saying enlightenment. I don't know what you are talking about. If you are talking about enlightenment in the sense of being able to fly, see things, and, like float on the water, stuff like that. that's a totally different interpretation, especially coming from that part of the world.
Yes.
So there's that. But then in Buddhism, in the word Denpa Tong or Nirvana or Nirodha has a lot of connotation. For instance, if you understand, not only intellectually, but practically, that actually you are a compounded phenomena, therefore you are going to disintegrate. You are going to die, no matter what. That realization, practically, not just intellectually, is going to release you from blindly believing that you are going to live 1,000 years. This is what people do. So that's an enlightenment, you know. You know, if you live it, let's say I'm like 60 years old now, but let's say I live 100 years. I have only like 40 years. So as a Buddhist, like, okay, 40 years, how many genes should I buy? Maybe 40. You know, so on and so forth. You know, I'm giving you an example. How many? So if you do that, you are living very wisely. Right now, people are buying genes as if they are going to live 40,000 years. That's how they stress themselves. That's how they destroy environment, because genes makers need to make genes.
Of course. Yeah.
So on and so forth. See? So if we are talking about that level, that kind of satori, which is in Japanese word, or nirvana, liberation, you know, tarva. In Tibetan we call it Denpa Tong. Denpa Tong means seeing the truth. It's like if you realize that something is dangerous, something is fatal, that knowledge liberates you from getting close to it or staying comfortable with it. Do you understand?
I do.
This, if we are talking about this kind of enlightenment, which is the Buddhist fundamental view of enlightenment, so possible, actually, and this is so necessary now more than ever.
So, Rinpoche, you're talking about how the word compassion or the words like enlightenment, they have been toned down to sort of like suit a more Western idea of that. Would you like to speak a little bit more about compassion? I mean, what is compassion?
It's not just the Western, to suit the Western people. I mean, actually, they, you know. Now, first of all, I want to clarify this. I'm not at all, you know, even though some people think that I'm an anti-West, I'm actually not. I really, really appreciate, enjoy, and really see so many incredible values with so many Western stuff. I mean, everything, like a jazz or church music, they are just incredible.
They are.
Yes.
I agree with you.
So, if, you know, like, those things I appreciate. But what I'm saying is, okay, so here is, probably you belong to that generation, definitely my generation also. Our generation have been bombarded with a totally different kinds of information. It's almost like, you know, like a monkey way of thinking is being taught to bunch of bear.
Yes.
And now the bears are trying to interpret everything as how monkeys are interpreting.
Probably. Yeah.
Now, and this is not a, you know, I'm not trying to be sort of derogatory or racist or hear anything like that. But you know what I mean. We basically different interpretation. So, okay, for instance, even the word good, as in English, I don't think you will find this in the whole Tibetan scripture, I mean the whole Buddhist scripture.
Good?
Good, you know, good, bad. The Western language, good. And then there's something we should be really aware of. Western words such as good and bad, it always has a Western religious
connotation.
You know, connotations, taste, basically. They may have gone through a lot of, you know, like Renaissance, all of that, enlightenment, all of that. They may have, but language is powerful. Language is very powerful. Every time when people come to me and say, what is the purpose of life in life? I always say, that's a Christian question. This is a question that, it's from that culture, you see. Anyway, I think I've lost your question.
Of course, no, absolutely, you're going on there. My question was, so what is this compassion? How do you envision, like, what is karuna? Like, how do you see it?
Very important question. In Buddhism, especially in Mahayana Buddhism, and I will quote the great Nalanda masters, Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti, the real compassion is when you see the truth. That is the real compassion. And then of course, the term is non-duality. Something is there, but at the same time is not there. Everything is like a rainbow, and that is the truth.
Rinpoche, I have to admit something. Like there is this saying called, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. So, I mean, I grew up in a generation, and probably I'm indoctrinated into this belief system of the do-gooder, like I want to become a good person, and I equate that with compassion. And in the due process, I've realized that in the process of being compassionate, or being what I understand as compassionate, I'm just fooling myself. I'm exposing myself. I'm making myself vulnerable to a situation. So my compassion is not leading me to wisdom.
Here I will quote Shantadeva, the very, very important book called Bodhicharya Avatar, which is also studied in Nepal very extensively. There's one verse where he said, "Yela dida thamjeni tube sharap dundusung." Basically, morality, ethic, generosity, good intention, all these are blind. If you don't have wisdom, and by the way, wisdom means seeing the truth. All these so-called compassion, like morality, ethic, generosity, all they do is they will make you more righteous, more proud, more dogmatic. So this is the spirit of the Buddhism. I mean, all Buddhism. For instance, like even if you go to, wherever you, Burma, Sri Lanka, you will see monks, shaved hair, walking gently, begging alms, all of that. But at the same time, they teach you anatta, which means there's no self. So if there's no self, why shave hair? Why beg food? Why try to live gently? So, like this kind of paradoxy is the wealth of the Buddhism. And I think this wealth of Buddhism is actually an answer to a lot of people's trauma and I don't know, just completely chaotic life now. I was talking about seeing the truth. Since we are in some sort of a media situation, when you realize BBC is just an opinion, no matter how, it doesn't matter. CNN is just an opinion. I don't know, North Korean state-sponsored television is just an opinion. When you know this, not only intellectually, but actually, you are freed from being brainwashed. What more do you want? Enlightenment. Those kind of, like golden color, the things that we see, Buddha, all that, the light, those are teddy bear. Those have functions. Everything what we are discussing is not, cannot be conceived and understood by everyone. So you need rattling toys to distract the babies, which there are many. So we have temples, prayer wheels, and gates, and music, and all of that, which is fine. We just need to know that they are all fingers. They are not the moon.
Rinpoche, this brings me to a question which has been personally bothering me. I have been in publication business, and I've been always sort of like trained in an intellectual manner. I have always pursued that realm of occupation. And I see a lot of people with good intentions. I see most of the people are good people with good intention. But then in the process of fighting the injustice or fighting the bullying or different kinds of isms that they see as wrong thing, I realize that we have to choose our enemy very wisely, because in the process of fighting the enemy, we end up like them. I see that the intention for all this movement, the social revolution that we have gone
Yes.
through, came from a good space, a space of
Yes.
transformation. But I see that there is more division of us versus them, you know. There's more division now than there is sense of unity, you know. So I'm very skeptical of this whole training of intellectual mind, if it can ever help us see unity among ourselves. I feel that with all our good intention, we're only dividing people further. Is there an answer to this? Is there a fundamental way?
I would say, as a Buddhist,
Yeah.
you know, Churchill, he said democracy is the second best system, something like that, right? It's the best thing that we have. I would actually go further. No, actually it's not second best. It's just equally bad and good, like all the other system. One system never works for everyone. But the problem is, people always become so proud of their system. Why? Because they don't have the wisdom of knowing, and I'm always going back to the finger and the moon, that the finger is not moon. This happens a lot among Buddhists also. I'll have to admit, Buddhists are very arrogant. Many Buddhists, very righteous. They're very judgmental, and they're very arrogant, so on and so forth. And of course, they also think that we know the real deal. The rest, they are ignorant, you know. And when they say this, most of the time, they're always talking about the finger again. They're not even talking about the moon. So some sort of a time, money, I don't know, energy, and need to be spent on really talking about this wisdom part. But even the word wisdom is not doing the justice to, translate the word prajna. But, right now we are using this out of no choice. Oh, you were saying the rationalism and all of this, you were trained to be, intellectual. Yes. And this is what I joke with many of my Western friends. They had, the church, the paganism, church, etc., and then they had the enlightenment, right? Rationalism,
Yes.
right? The
Yes.
rationalism. And I always joke with my Western friends, saying that they stopped there, whereas 7th century, even way before, the Buddhists were going even further, like such as Dharmakirti or Chandrakirti. They were very skeptical towards rationalism. Even so-called logic and rationalism is always an opinion. So if you, so of course you don't want to be irrational. Who wants to be irrational? That's really, not good. So you apply rationalism, but you should always ask, hey, this rationalism, where is it coming from? Where is it based on? So you should really pull the rug out of this rational feet. And then you reach to shunyata, wisdom, prajna.
Is it possible for people like us?
Very much, as I was saying earlier, even the fact that, I've lived this much, now I have this much left, most probably, even if I actually live through, then, my buying ratio of genes will reduce, and that's already a good step. And then you do more. You actually explore more truth. So then, as I was saying about, like journalism, like BBC or CNN or anything, just realize it's just an opinion.
But what you're saying is also just an opinion.
Yes. And then I ask deconstruct my own opinion. This is all about vipassana. I'm sure you have heard the word vipassana, which is now watered down all the way to just sitting, breathing, and relaxing and getting some sort of. But vipassana nowadays is done to free you from stress. That is absolutely wrong in Buddhism. We don't care about stress, actually. Our ultimate goal is to see the truth. As long as you don't see the truth, there's always going to be stress.
That's a vicious circle. How to deal with the stress? I was going to ask you a question.
Oh, no, you can do like shamatha and all the, sort of, what do you call it, the beginning stage of the, and they will, of course, like a vipassana technique that is taught nowadays, they will definitely help you reduce stress. And that you should take it as a bonus. Like if you are planting rice, you are aiming for rice, not for hay. But after rice, you also have hay, which is fine, which you can use it for dungs and,
Rinpoche, it's very, I'm getting carried away because I'm enjoying this conversation so much. I'm not asking the question I was supposed to ask. But there is a question. So you're currently building a creative center for arts at Bodhinath Stupa. I am just curious, what is this inspiration behind this center and why art? Why art? You are a Buddhist monk. I mean, what is the relation?
Very interesting. People have been talking about this ever since I was making film. They say, oh, you're a Buddhist. Why are you making film? See, here we go again. It's a really indoctrination, isn't it? I can understand. Film. You associate these things like a film, limousine, sex, drugs, Hollywood, Bollywood, all that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be, is it? I mean, if there are films like Satyajit Ray's film or Ozu's film, they are so eye-opening.
They are?
They are just incredibly, sometimes they can really unsettle you for days, make you really lose sleep. I mean, profoundly, nicely, really trying to, look into the world and yourself.
Or even movies with sex and drug, they can do that.
Yes, of course. And it's not as if the Buddhists have never used any kind of art effects. To, remember the bear, the teddy bear? Buddhists have always used that, always. Initially they what do you call it? They resist. I mean, if you look at some of the very, very ancient Buddhist art, you will see a throne, but no Buddha sitting on it. They say, oh, Buddha cannot be symbolized or, made into a form. Because Buddha himself said, those who see me as a form, they have a wrong view, right? So on and so forth. But, medium has to be changed. This is, I was speaking earlier, right now, I think you see the problem with so-called Hinduism, by the way, and I'm sure you know this, there is no such thing as Hinduism. This word Hinduism is created by the West.
After the invasion, yes.
There's a Samkhya, there's, Jain, there's that, Madhyamika, there's like...
we had many traditions of Charvak tradition, skepticism, yeah.
I think the problem with us, let's say I'm talking about the Buddhists, we, first of all, we get so, we are so, we entangle ourselves and we can't differentiate between Buddhism and the culture. This happens a lot. So as I always give this example, Buddhism is like the water, the cup is like the culture. You need it, cup. But you can also use hand. But then you need to be quite advanced. For if you're a baby, you need a cup. Some really nice looking cup would be even better.
Yes.
But if you are thirsty, you need water, not cup. You are not drinking cup. This need to be differentiated. With this as a foundation, we should be really making different cup now. So my comment earlier with some of our friends. You know, design of the temple, design, the way we present Buddhism, so archaic.
No, but I found that quite fascinating when you were making that commentary, because I liked your shoes, nice shoes, by the way.
Oh,
but
this is...
yeah,
okay.
but then I was looking at your dress. I mean, it is still very archaic, you know, the clothes that you wear.
Yes, yes. I'm kind of like, what do you call it, hodgepodge of this.
Yeah, so, but it was a very fascinating comment that you were making about the Star Wars.
Anyway, yes, because you see, even the films that are, you know, if you watch like a man with a golden gun, the kids will laugh at it. It's like, even as the James Bond is walking, they know what's going to happen. Now you need to tell different way, different size of shots, different camera angle, all that. So just like that, we need to package and present and brand the Nepali wisdom, Newari wisdom, Buddhist wisdom, whatever wisdom, and our heritage in a different way. So this is why the idea of the Lichavi house, that some of us, not just me by the way, some of us, we are cooking an idea how to do this, so that where, especially the younger generation, it doesn't matter Buddhist or not, they can come, they can have coffee, tea, they can discuss about their life, it doesn't matter what kind of colorful life they have, but they can also have a reminder of, you know, the truth, meditation, study, ancient culture, all of that. This is the hope.
What is art? What does art signify for you? What does it mean for you?
In Tibetan, I think, I'm quite sure, the word art is translated, well, vice versa, jutsal. And this is a very, very interesting word. Especially the first word, ju. Ju is something fake. Fake, not real. Tsal is sort of a talent or display or whatever, but anyway, the spirit is this. Sometimes, in order to tell the truth, in order to get the truth across, you have to tell lies. This is what art is. Art is basically a fabrication according to the time, according to the audience, of course. You know, you try to show something like a Picasso to us, like kids, it won't work.
Or maybe it would work. Picasso is great for kids.
Of course. Yes.
Yes, if you show Picasso to a grown-up, it might not work.
Maybe, exactly. So art is something fake. And in Nepali, you have the word avatar.
Yes.
Avatari or something like that.
Yes.
See, avatar has the connotation of fake, not real. Avatar. So what is behind? You see, but people don't go there. They're just usually happy with avatar. And that's when things get muddled up with religion, superstition. And then, of course, all the intellectuals and scientists, they just put it in a basket of some, you know, like lost case.
What is beyond? What is there beyond?
The word beyond, are you talking about?
No.
What do you mean?
What is there beyond?
Well, now you are asking a really complicated, quite a, you know, really in Buddhism. Okay, I'll give you a classic Buddhist, what do you call it? Mantra is maybe not the right word. Yeah, of course, it is known as a mantra of Prajna Paramita. Again, this is a very big thing in Nepal, by the way. Painted everywhere, red everywhere. Anyway, there is one. The phrase goes something like Tatyata Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhiswaha. There are 4 gones there. Gate Gate. How do you say Gate in Nepali?
Gate is gone.
Yeah.
Goyo.
Yeah, goyo, right?
Yeah.
So gone beyond. You know, Gate, gone beyond, and gone. You know. Buddhists talk about 4 gone, not just 1 gone. And this is the quintessential study of Buddhism, actually. I wish people actually put some effort in it. And this is, just to give you a very brief sort of image of this, is if you are somebody who's, let's say, watching something like Game of Thrones. Have you?
Was
No?
too boring for me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fine. But some people really like it, right? And even after the whole episode finished, some people are still talking about it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you know, this queen shouldn't have died. This,
Did you
that.
watch?
Yes, because
Don't give the because.
no, it was the only way I could do my treadmill. Yes. Otherwise, I need.
You did treadmill while you watched Game of Thrones?
Yes. I was. That's the only way, you know, driving force. Anyway.
Okay.
But the thing about it is this. When you watch this, you feel scared sometimes.
Yes.
You feel passionate sometimes. You feel, I don't know, you feel contradicted. You root.
How do
for
you
somebody.
manage passion as a Buddhist monk? When you feel passionate?
Oh, that's another question. Can you hold on
yes,
to that?
okay.
Let me finish with this one first.
Okay.
So, as you do, you know, you feel that. But somewhere behind, you know this is not real. So, anytime you need to go somewhere to eat or go pee, you just pause.
Oh yeah.
This is what we should be able to do in our real Game of Thrones. This is doable, by the way. Because, you know, there's a Game of Thrones that's happening all the time.
Yes.
We just don't realize it's an episode, you know, created by some incredible producers, directors here. So, what was the question? The passion. Now, I am not going to claim that I am doing it, but I will say I aspire to do it. Buddhism in general, especially Mahayana, and this is what, taking the advantage of your question, what do we do with the passion in Buddhism? I want to take this opportunity to just throw in some words about Tantra, which is a very big spirit in Nepal. Right? Everywhere there's a Tantric this, Tantric that. What is it that is so special? This is how Buddhists think. Actually, not just passion, aggression, jealousy, everything. They are the footprint of wisdom. So let's say if you have a cow and you lost your cow, when you find the cow's footprint, you are almost equally happy of actually finding the cow. You just follow the footprint and you will find the cow. Just like that, when this is a Tantric Buddhism, they say that if you can, so all these emotions like passion, aggression, whatever, they are the footprint of the wisdom. If you know how to watch it, deal with it, and follow, it will only lead to wisdom. So this is how I aspire to do it. I'm not claiming that I'm doing it, but I totally believe and I'm very convinced that one can do it. The reason is, when you have passion or aggression, it doesn't stay forever. It's like a cloud. It
Yes.
goes and it disappears. Isn't it a nice thing? Let's take advantage of that. This is what the Tantra says.
So, he's such a bully, by the way, your disciple.
Okay.
My another question is, since, art has always been used by, various institutions like states, nations, and, by various small institutions as well, to express and influence the ideas. Even when we're talking about westernization, we don't have like a very colonial empire telling us to follow the West, but it is like, subliminally
Yes.
fed to us through art. So my question is, there's so little of authentic art left, and because I have a great value for art. I see everywhere art is used as a means of money-making mechanism, and there is no neutral quest for beauty anymore. So how is your center any different? Like, yeah.
This is a very heartfelt question, really hitting me. I have myself been really, you know, I don't know, really, I think like you, you know, it's like, you know, I make film. And nowadays, for instance, the films, for instance, the stories always have to have some sort of an issue.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether it's a politics, whether it's a gender, so ecology, it has to have an issue. If there's an issue, and if it is dramatic, if there's a hero and there's a villain, then distributors are happy, then, you know, the festivals are happy, the audience are happy, you understand? So,
Yes.
but if you look back to many of our ancient way of living, you know, life will not always have an issue, or there are different kinds of issues, you know,
Yeah.
that are not necessarily obvious issues.
Yeah.
These things need to be portrayed, and these things need to be, what do you call it, presented there. But wow, it's a real challenge.
It is really challenging because I see this every day. You know, there are people who want to become writer because there is an inspiration for, you know,
Yes.
exploring their own mind and stories. But in the due process, they are faced with a very real problem of earning their living, you know.
Yes.
And then there is this, like you said, formula books. There is this pressure to publish formula books, or, you know, like formula YouTube videos, or like, yeah. So I feel that, you know, like we were talking about Western civilization and Renaissance, and you know, what was fascinating for me about Renaissance was, you know, the richest people, the Italians, the Medicis, they decided they could be patrons, you know, to literature and art, and that's how it flourished, you know. So I feel that art needs artists need, they're almost like monks. They need a very neutral space where they can be provided for, so that it does not become an agenda, political agenda to push on some idea. So I'm very hopeful about the Lichavi house that we are talking about, and hopefully we can create a neutral space for artists.
Me too. I have a lot of hope for young people. This is where the young people are good, and they have strength. Okay, they may get toppled everywhere, they may get shunned everywhere, or, you know, I don't know, muffled everywhere, but, you know, they always have strength. They always make differences somewhere. Right this very moment, they may not be able to, you know, achieve what they want to achieve, but you know, it's like somebody nagging, you know. And I think the young people should, you know, with this in mind, they should nag more and demand better. We can't really also blame distributors and all these people, because they are, after all, you know, thinking in terms of, you know, demand and the supply philosophy, right? So, yes, me too. I'm hoping that.
I was so fascinated. I read somewhere that in the West, with the capitalization of everything, the capitalism taking over everything, before that, the art used to be consumed and produced for public. Like in Nepal, you know, the greatest artist would make temple, he would sing bhajans for everybody to consume it publicly. But in the West, with the advent of capitalism, art became whatever could be monetized. It became from wall painting to it became canvas painting, from free, you know, concert in the opening to a chamber music where people have to go pay money. So, you know, I feel that there is such a great need to reclaim art from this monetization process and say that this is an exuberance of creativity. This is celebration of beauty, not necessarily yet another effort to like earn the living. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just getting carried away.
No, this is important that is discussed, and hopefully that Lichavi House will come into, I don't know, life, and people like you actually make noise And as I said earlier, if
You were the first guru who is encouraging me to make noise. I always,
Really?
yeah, I lived in
Oh.
commune for a long time. I always got trouble for making noise.
Oh, you should show them the first pages of many of the philosophical Buddhist texts. Sekje darbe serjin do lamal chachi kujimin like a gold. You have to cast, you have to, polish, never take things for granted, never take things at its face value. This is Buddha himself said. I forgot the Pali term. The Buddha's there are few famous statement. Don't follow me, come and see. Don't, that need to be really fully taken advantage. You are supposed to analyze, and you are supposed to nag, and you are supposed to really measure. And the Buddhist should be confident, because the more you do that, then the Buddhist wealth reveals.
Rinpoche, my last question to you.
Okay.
Although I could go on for a long time, I think we are constrained by time. My last question to you, and I just want you to be honest about this.
Okay.
Are you enlightened?
Oh, that. Okay. Well, as I said, again, the word enlightenment. If you are
Do you know the truth?
me, some, yes, and I'm very happy with that. And it has saved me a lot. And it's thanks to Guru and thanks to my study of the Dharma. Any day, okay, between Trump and me, I think I am always thinking, every day, like just this morning, I have spent about 15 minutes. I'm not going to live here forever. And I don't think he does that. And between him and me, I'm more enlightened. You understand? And what's the benefit of this? Because someone who is always thinking about the death, it pokes a hole in your greed, your, all kind of blind assumption, blind expectations, blind planning, it does. So, because of this, people who follow me are probably not too harmed yet. But I think, there are a lot of truths that I still aspire to realize. So on this level, yes, Trump and Biden, both, I'm more enlightened.
I'm done with my questions. It's just like one last question I want to ask you, Rinpoche. I'm sure you can tell by now, and I know this myself, that I'm a very ignorant person. I'm arrogant also. And
you realizing that is already a vipassana. I'm telling you.
I'm not being
serious.
able to help. I'm not being able to help with my ignorance. I know that I'm ignorant, but down the dungeon, So my question to you is,
Yeah.
I don't want to follow gurus. I was in organized religion for a while. I don't want to follow gurus. But I want a way out of my ignorance. Is there
Okay, by the way, this guru business is a very tantric exclusive. You understand? The moment you talk about organize, whatever, then you are not really, strictly speaking, you are really not really talking about tantric Buddhism. Tantric Buddhism, we never know what happens there. Like the guys like Telopa, Naropa, who were like a prominent big player of Nepal in the past. If you read their story, it's incredible. They were like prince, and they were some of them are like the dean of the Nalanda University. Just imagine, they were like really high up there. And they were totally enough of this rationalism, logic, etc., etc. And who do they have? They go out there, prostitute, secretly, they receive teachings from this prostitute or an arrow maker. If you explore our gurus in the past, it's fascinating, because so the bond between the guru and the student is very, very, it's no institution. You understand? So there you don't really have to worry. Now beyond that, okay, and then also the guru, one has to analyze the guru. And how do you do that? By, analyzing the path first, right? So there's all that path that you can apply without relying on the guru. I think this is something to do with misinformation, hodgepodge sort of everything put together, guru, the tantric guru, and then all the Tibetan lamas, the disciples, the monasteries. I think that all of these didn't help. But I'm serious. If you are talking about a tantric philosophy or the tantric way, it's like this. It's guru and the disciple is personal thing. Many times we don't even know who is the guru and who is the disciple. They know each other. Okay. As far as working with your emotion, working with your ignorance, working with your arrogance, there is so many. There is colorful ones. There are ritualistic ones, probably which you are not that keen on. There's very, very simple ones. For instance, okay, I'll suggest you something. For instance, we have a tradition of pilgrimage, right? So that's one, right? But somebody like you who said, I'm skeptical, I don't buy this, fine. How about going to Bhaktapur to fold a tissue paper and come back? Do something useless once a week. See, that's a mind training already. When you go to Bhaktapur, you are going there to fold a tissue paper, okay? That's it. And your purpose is so almost meaningless. You will have no hope, no fear. You see that, but from every step you take, the journey is like, it's a blissful, rewarding. At the same time, it's what am I doing, so on and so forth. And maybe after a few months, I will say, okay, now you go to, I don't know, Lumbini, but for nothing, not even to fold a tissue paper. You understand? So this is, there are a lot of, lots and lots and lots of, methods like that. You just, thousands actually. You just have to apply, I know right now the Vipassana is becoming so trendy, everybody's doing this, then there's a sect of, okay, 9 days this, sit. You must only sit like that. Nowhere in the whole Buddhist scripture talks about wisdom is only gained through sitting. If you find one verse, I don't know, we can bet on this. You can do it sleeping, lying, dancing, but sitting happens to be the safest, most practical, most doable. Because chances of me telling you, go and lie on a hammock with a margarita and do Vipassana, which you can, chances of you doing that and actually achieving some Vipassana result, then you making you sit, like 5 minutes, this probably at the moment is more fruitful. That's what it is.
So with this, we've come to an end of conversation with Khyentse Rinpoche. Of course, there was more question, and I was obviously taken by his sense of humor, and there were more questions to ask. But then there is time constraint, and with this, we've come to an end of the session. But if you're interested in his teaching, I'm sure you can go and visit his Lichavi house in Bauta Stupa. Thank you for bearing with us.